Wait. Let me address it so no one else has to. I know what I said. Most of you know what I said. Those who don't, it doesn't really matter. But I think everyone at the end is allowed to change his opinion what I did. And that's why we are going to take a first look at this phone, not the Pro just yet. Now, this phone has 6.53 inches and therefore is just still quite a bit bigger than some other phones out there, because as you can see it's taller, but most noticeably, actually noticeably wider, but still actually quite thin. And I have to say, this phone feels so nice in the hand and reminds me so much of its predecessor, not to the Pro version either, which still had back then 16:9. I mean, let's talk about the back. Marketing says that the subtle texture here that you can hear provides some extra grip and attracts less fingerprints. I can assure it attracts less fingerprints. It's not quite as obvious, but it does not really add any grip. I actually think it adds less grip, but it's still fine, absolutely. And we have a curved back, which makes the phone feel narrower than it actually is. Even for a very wide phone, I actually have no hard time to get to the back because weight distribution seems very fine. And if you compare this with many other phones these days, it doesn't look as crazy tall, which is something that I really like. Button placement is great, especially the fingerprint reader in perfect position for me. I mean, what I have to say though is, as you can see how it starts, so it kind of has this fade in animation. I guess that why they did that for it, because if you use face unlock, you can see it does the same, so it fades in. So it needs a little bit of time to get the face recognized, and they wanted to kind of have the same experience here. But at least phones of that brand in the past did it quicker with the turn on, but that's not a problem. I mean, it unlocks super fast still. I mean, very reliable, so I'm good with that. Camera does pretty much not at all. I mean, it doesn't really wobble because this is kind of square. I like that. I mean, texture good. It feels great in hand. Buttons, nice tactile feedback and so on. I don't want to get too much into that. Obviously, we have an IR blaster actually, which is not that obvious. Microphone, headphone jack, SIM card tray, headphone and USB-C. Speaker that also works with the earpiece. I'm going to talk about that later. Mics again. Notification LED should be there. Notch is also there, but I'm just going to say it. This is a non-notch. I think the teardrop notch is a great solution, and I don't even think I need to cover it up. I actually won't do it because it's absolutely not necessary, and you don't need a translation here. It's fine. But if you go under display, you go to send, and then you can hide the notch. But this actually takes away screen, makes it actually look less symmetrical. So I would just leave it like that. In videos, you will see the notch though. If you don't want that, if you stretch it out to 2x1, just use this option, you're fine. But I would just gonna leave this. Yeah, the rest, pretty typical settings. Flat on the front with a just nice, smooth, subtle curve. I mean, in and feel is great. Build quality is top notch. They did a really great job. And especially if you look at this, look at how thin those bezels are. Nice small chin. Design-wise, absolutely super sweet. Now the display, usually my big gripe because of the dimming. Now, is it still there? Yeah, kinda. I mean, we also have, for example, with the smart resolution, yeah, don't use that. Just set it to Full HD Plus, which is what this is with 6.35 inches. And I have to say that this display is really, really nice, but it's not kind of mind-blowing, which is fine. Because it comes with one small little downside. It gets only 500 lux when I measured it, even though it looks way brighter, because what it does, it boosts the brightness, but the picture gets a little bit less contrasty, so it loses a little bit on dynamic range, which is fine though, because this display at about 1080p at this size looks actually super nice and sharp. So I have no problem here with this just being 1080p at this price. I mean, I would still prefer QHD, but it is not a problem. Now, like I said about the dimming, it's still there kinda, but it's, I would say, pretty much not an issue anymore. I don't think it's a deal breaker, but now what it still does sometimes dim it in odd situations. I can't really narrow it down. I definitely can't show it because it's very subtle, way more subtle than ever before in the past, where I had an issue with. Sometimes what it just does, it gets to a level where the display doesn't seem super nice and kind of popping in your face. It feels a little bit dull, just a little bit. No real complaint here this time because, yeah. That actually looks fine by now. I need a few more days to kind of see what I think about it, which is also the same for the speaker, because let's actually check that one. Okay, so here's the thing. Dual speaker system, nice. Bottom firing for the lower sounds and this for the high ones. But maybe you've noticed that this is way weaker than this one. And therefore you just notice that this actually doesn't do so much. It is still a little bit coming from the front, but it's nowhere near as loud as, for example, on the iPhone, where the earpiece is by far the loudest in any of those dual speaker arrangements. But I also have to say, for now, after the first few days when I watch YouTube videos and so on, in some situations, I would wish for it to be louder. Sound quality is nice, and we have also Dolby Atmos, which we actually can't even turn off. Where is the feature? Looks like... oh, yeah, I accidentally dropped it. So here it is. And you have some different options for that. I mean, if we go into that, you can see that you can change between smart, movie, and music. I would just leave it at smart, it's fine. You can't really turn it off anyways though. Now headphone jack is here, but I don't think it will sound any good. I didn't try it yet, but this phone's brand never got a good headphone jack done, so it would be highly, highly unlikely for it to happen now. But one thing that I have to praise this phone so much for is not the speed, because what they actually did here with the, this chip 980 is they kind of artificially slowed down the scrolling. As you can see, no matter how fast I try, it just doesn't go any faster. Because if we compare this with, for example, the OnePlus 5T, which has a normal scrolling, you will notice one difference. For example, let's try this here. I make one swipe and it goes super fast, as you can see here. And look at also how long it gets. Now let's do the same here. I don't nearly get at that point. As you can see, I can do this way quicker. So they artificially slowed this down, which I have no problem though, I have to say, because look at this smooth scrolling. And I pretty much had no lag at all. Very, very occasional. It's nothing that really bothers me, but this feels now so smooth. Better than ever before. The predecessor nowhere near got that factor. I mean, so nice and buttery. And I guess the slower animations, the scrolling makes it actually easier to get where you want to, so it doesn't kind of abruptly do it. So I'm actually so far super impressed. Not by the speed, like I said, because animations and switching and everything else isn't crazy responsive. As you can see here, it actually kind of starts to, show that it's not that great, but super nice and smooth. I mean, it's that smoothness, that is what most people see, and this is pretty much the nicest what I've ever seen. Battery life I can't judge, but since it's a 4000 milliamp hour battery, even with this screen and even being IPS, I'm pretty confident it will be great. I haven't tried it yet though. So what else is there to say? Okay, let's talk about the software here a little bit. We have an app drawer, or we don't if we don't want to. We have the Google Feed if we want to. We have quick settings. I mean, the UI, many people don't like it. I never actually had an issue with the look. Design was nice. We had themes and so on, actually quite customizable. But there were annoying things like the dimming, which is still there, but it's not a big thing anymore. What it seems to do is a little bit more aggressively kill apps that it shouldn't kill. Yeah, maybe we can get past it. And then there is one thing that I have to get into, which is one thing that I don't understand at all. And for me, so far, looks like a big deal, because what I usually always do, I have this launcher to launch my apps. Now here's what happens, and I hope you will see this. If I press now on the Studio app, you can see it actually doesn't highlight it. It highlights the button below. Same, for example, for the settings. I hope you can actually see that. It always goes one button lower. Not always. It depends on how you press it, but usually it does. I mean, I think that's enough of a sign that it is to hit. I tried to change the size. I tried it on the different side. It's the same, just so you can see. So it does it still. And I have no idea, because it's not the display. Maybe it's not due to Android 9 compatible. I will have to try it once I have another phone with 9. But if you do the multi-touch test, it is spot on, as you can see. There is no issue. So it's somehow app-related, but it's a big thing since this is an app that I pretty much navigate throughout my entire system. I never use something else. It's just, for me, the best way to get through apps. I mean, I love that. And like I see, I pressed it, but I have to press kind of like higher than that to actually reach it. So yeah, let's get past that. But so far, no real big issues. The dimming got better. updates, yeah, it's running Pi, obviously. I got 2 updates already, whatever they changed so far. Now, in terms of settings, we can change the design, obviously. We can hide the notch. We can rearrange those buttons. We have full screen gestures that I'm not the biggest fan of because I don't have an option to get to the last app quite quickly and so on. But yeah, so far, I'm quite positive about the cam. I'm not going to talk about it just yet. That's what the review will be there for. But I mean, you know this brand, you know this phone, you know the Pro right now, since I definitely didn't get it early enough. And everyone praises it. I mean, what I think will be the thing, very, very nice for photos, even though I've seen that a few people say it's a little bit too much doing in terms of processing, making it not all that realistic, not natural. I'm not gonna say anything about that yet, but video I don't think will be that good. Not on a flagship level, but the rest we'll see. But I have to say, I am more positive than I expected to, especially with the design. I like it a lot. The display is super nice. I mean, speed could be better and so on and so forth, but I need more time to just evaluate the rest. But so far, I am not annoyed by having to review it like it was with the last version. So that's that. But still, let's not forget the price, 800. That's too much. And just like with the Pro at around 1,000, I'm gonna say the same. Too expensive for me. I think that's unreasonable of a price for a phone, but whoever wants to spend that kind of money, I think with this phone and this phone Pro actually gets so much more tech than anyone else with wireless charging, IP ratings, good displays, and so maybe a little bit watered down here, and I will maybe get into the differences once I have the Pro of this phone. But if you get it on contract, if you get it cheaper and so on, it might be nice. So far, I actually like it quite a lot. The one thing with the app control with the Smart Task Launcher is a little bit odd for me. I have to get past that yet because I'm just so used to navigating my phone like this, and I just launch wrong apps all the time. So yeah, that's that. Until next time, bye.